of The Handle here on VSiN. It is the NFL schedule release. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you. And Mike, probably a little bit more excited than I should be. We knew the matchups. We just didn't know when they were going to happen. We didn't know the times. We didn't know the networks. But guess what? I'm still geeked to find out the times and the networks and when everything is happening. Man, I'm trying to process everything right now. I'm sure you're doing the same. But some initial thoughts as we get going here. Can't wait to really get into this over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, I'm more excited than I thought I would be. I've spent the last hour just diving through this, trying to find advantages. I already bet Jacksonville in the second London game, so excited to talk about that one soon.
No, you didn't.
My biggest takeaway, though, Matt, San Francisco, I thought their schedule was phenomenal. And then you dive a little deeper, they have to play 4 teams coming out of byes this year. And those 4 teams are Buffalo, Dallas, Kansas City, and in-division rival Seattle. That is a tough set to have 4 teams coming out of byes in this schedule for San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff we're going to try to break down, and if you guys are watching this version of The Handle, and you see Matt, if you see Matt and Mike looking down a ton, like if you see us doing this number, like, you got to bear with us. We're trying to process information. Things are coming through the Twitter machine. All this is trying to get processed on the fly here with everything. So Mike, first off, I did go in and look just because it is something that we take in, not only strictly just for betting purposes, also for survivor purposes, also for what we think in the long term this means for teams, but the early and the late buys. And those are things where we look at some of these teams and say, man, you can ask any team. Teams hate early buys for sure, just as much as they hate late buys. You really want something kind of in the middle where you can break up the schedule, you can get your guys healthy and get going in there. But we have buys, several key teams actually in that early window, week 5 and week 6. Lions, Chargers, Eagles, Titans, all in week 5. Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, all in week 6. So we have some real contenders that are going to have to go a long stretch of the season without that bye and just praying that injury luck goes in their direction.
Oh, that's going to be the key, is when do these injury bugs, because you're going to get hit with injuries at some point during the season. When do they hit? You also want to look at the rookie quarterback buys as well. Minnesota there has a bye week 5, week 6, so they've got an early bye as well. Does that mean we see Sam Darnold early, and that's the week you kind of switch over to J.J. McCarthy? So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with these specific ones. But Detroit, another one I thought was pretty interesting, Matt. The early bye I thought was definitely a negative for them. But they only have 3 games outdoors all season. They've got Chicago, they've got San Francisco late in the season, but for the most part, they're going to be playing in domes again all season long, and that's a huge advantage for them.
Those late buys that we're talking about, again, they hate the late buys just as much as they hate the early buys. Bills, Broncos, Texans, Colts, Patriots, Commanders, all in week 14 this year. Mike, listen, I know there's a lot that goes into this. I know they have run many different iterations of all of this to come to the one that makes the most sense. We have to have 6 teams on bye in week 14. I mean, I know this is very difficult. This is a crazy deal. We're starting to play international games. We got all these different networks that we've got to serve. But 6 teams in week 14, I mean, that is a competitive disadvantage if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah, and there's no teams the week prior either. No teams week 13, 6 teams week 14. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago on our weekend show, Matt. This is why you're hearing more and more buzz about 18 regular season games with 2 byes, because you're able to kind of stagger these out and make it a little bit more fair from not having the early, not having the late buys specifically. So going to be interesting if that picks up more momentum after we're seeing so many teams with early buys, so many teams with late buys this year.
Yeah, definitely stuff we will continue to get into over the next couple of hours. There are 9 different teams throughout the course of the season, I should say, that will play games on just 4 days rest. The Jets have 7 different primetime games. So there's all kinds of weird nuanced stuff that we've got going on here. We'll talk about the international schedule, but one of those little quirks there is the Jags do play back-to-back international games, Mike. So we're starting to pull apart all of these different little things that we are kind of noticing going, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's fun to look at the division numbers as well. We're going to dive into a couple of the divisions later in the show, but it's fun to look at some of these competitors and how it stacks up for them. Jacksonville's early schedule, I love. Their late schedule, absolutely brutal. So for me, I'm starting to try and what I do every year, Matt, I send myself calendar invites for when I want to look at specific divisions. And like that AFC South, I'm going to look at that division when Jacksonville is coming back from London and say, who can I bet that's not Jacksonville in this division that I can get a price? Because I think you could see a team be able to make a comeback inside that division. I love sending myself calendar invites so I know when to check those out.
These are things we're going to keep reminding people all over the place, is things where you can go into the schedule and say, let me at least take a look at this point, right? So this is some of the stuff that we'll get into over the next couple hours as well. But we know, as much as it excites us, it probably excites the people at the books as well, Mike. And now joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Brendan White. He's a trading manager over for DraftKings. Brendan, thanks for joining us, man. I know it's probably crazy over there for you guys right now.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. It is absolutely crazy for us. We're sort of going through the same thing that you guys are and our bettors are, and trying to parse out all the little nuances of the schedule now that we have all the details.
So which games, just as you guys, by the way, over at DraftKings, you've got a DraftKings account. We know you do. We've told you a million times to go get one. You guys have all the Week 1 lines up already. Have we seen any action, any movement here on the Week 1 games?
Yeah, lots of action. Our sharp bettors are targeting teams that are going up against rookie QBs in Week 1. Specifically, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, and Jaden Daniels betting against the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Patriots. We sort of priced in the probability that those quarterbacks would play Week 1, but it seems like they're following that trend of those quarterbacks maybe not being up to par, playing up to their potential in that first week's game. And then the other sort of from a recreational standpoint game that's taken a lot of attention is the Chargers game. We opened them -2 against the Raiders. We're up to -3, and the Chargers have actually been very popular for Week 2 and Week 3 and futures as well.
It's awfully interesting to me that you're seeing so much love for the Chargers. Obviously, Harbaugh, a big part of that, but the rest of that team, not phenomenal. It's one of those I know Matt and I are both against in that sense. Let's talk a little about the Jets here. So Matt mentioned 7 primetime games. We're going to see a lot of Aaron Rodgers, assuming he's healthy. How has the action been on them, especially considering they're going to take on 3 rookie quarterbacks in the first 5 weeks?
Yeah, the Jets are a really popular team as always, especially in the state of New York and New Jersey. But I think a lot of the hype has sort of already been bet on. Our bettors are all over their futures. Obviously, we're seeing some action on their games as well. But I think a lot of the worry is Aaron Rodgers and his health, right? And so you're sort of betting on their ceiling when you bet their futures. You can bet on them the first few games, but as we put up all 272 games, I would expect the demand to drop off in the games later in the year.
But whenever you guys look, and obviously one of the things you kind of have to process on the fly too is these international games. How do you guys deal with all of that? Because, again, it's whether the teams are going to take buys or they're not going to take buys. We see the quirk of the Jags playing back-to-back overseas, et cetera, et cetera. How do you deal with all these international games?
Yeah, it's difficult. You mentioned the buys. I think 3 teams playing in London have elected not to take the bye after the London game, which I believe 2 years ago was mandatory. I think teams are realizing that when they get their bye in the season is very valuable, and maybe they're willing to sacrifice some of the rest after those games. It is an interesting sort of quirk where that's obviously travel that's relatively unprecedented. Those games are fairly new, and we don't have a large sort of data set around what that does to teams when they come back. So that's an area where, we're assuming it'll have some impact, but we're letting our sharper bettors kind of guide us in the direction in terms of our prices.
I wonder if Jacksonville would like to take that back after they come back from their London trip. They've got Green Bay, at Philly, Minnesota, at Detroit before their bye. They probably might want to have that bye a little bit before it there, especially the Week 12 bye in that spot. Real quick question for you here. What win total action have you seen? I thought there'd be some movement in that win total market. Have you seen any teams have been very popular, either over or under, in the last hour since the schedule's come out?
Not a ton. We've had those up for quite a while, so I think, the people that have wanted to bet those have gotten their money down, and we've moved accordingly. Although, as we sort of get all these games up and start moving the money lines around, we'll have to recalculate kind of what those regular season wins should be based on the team's money lines throughout the season. So, in a couple hours here, you'll probably see some movement, but that'll be driven more by us kind of running the numbers again and not so much the bets that we're taking.
Brendan, we also have kind of a deal where we know what teams have the easiest and or hardest schedules based off of just their opponent win totals, right? So we can go to DraftKings, we can look what you guys have set up, and we can at least get an idea of how these teams are expected to perform somewhere along the way. The Falcons, one of those teams with the easiest schedule out there, and when we take a look at kind of this Falcons team, at least early, not the easiest road for them. So maybe one of those teams where you might even find some value after the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Falcons' schedule strength is very dependent on the fact that they're in an awful division. As a Panthers fan, you can see that. I'm that division is in really rough shape. A lot of the teams are rebuilding, and I think their out of division schedule is kind of normal. It's a little bit easier than their division, the teams that are in their division with them. But interestingly, as we talked about earlier, the Chargers actually have the second easiest schedule by win total, and they're in a much tougher division. And so I think, if you kind of take division out of it, the Chargers, got quite lucky with kind of the teams that they were scheduled with this year.
He is Brennan White, trading manager for DraftKings. Brennan, I know you got to get back in there and get after it, man. I do appreciate it, and thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Join us there on the Progressive guest line. Mike, you and I both heavy on the Falcons, and I might have to double dip here on the Falcons because Pittsburgh, Philly, Kansas City to start the season for Atlanta, and then it just gets very, very nice after that. I almost kind of hope they start like 1-2, and I'm able to come back in and double dip on this team, man. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, if they could start 1-2, 0-3, it could be a great opportunity to take them to win the division because the rest of the schedule is just a cupcake.
This entire show today is presented by ZYN Nicotine Pouches, America's #1 nicotine pouch. You can find more at ZYN.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about the toughest schedules based off of future win totals here and what we think about those teams. It is the Handle Schedule Release Special.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it again! DraftKings Casino presents Spring Break Rewind! Soak up games exclusive to DK brands like Rocket, plus custom takes on favorites like Blackjack, slots, and more. New customers can play $5 and get $100 instantly in casino credits from America's top online casino. Boom! The crown is yours.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
The time of unreliable injury reports and rest days are over. The playoffs are here, and it's the best time to bet the NBA. Throughout the NBA playoffs, VSiN has daily best bets, analytics reports, and series previews all the way through the NBA Finals. You can also watch our 24/7 video stream, access our betting splits, and get picks sent to your inbox every morning so you can get ahead of any late line movement. To get access to everything VSiN has to offer for the NBA playoffs, become a VSiN Pro subscriber at vsin.com/pro.
Coming up Thursday on Follow the Money, we'll go over the NFL schedule, get into win totals, and also Sal Palantonio from ESPN and the VP of Circa, Mike Palm, in studio. Follow the Money weekdays, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're all about giving our players new and exciting ways to get in on the action. With my stat sheet, you can check out your play history and performance over time to make sure you're always playing within your means. Because when it comes to betting, it's more fun when it's for fun. The crown is yours.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, you like VSiN on the radio, you like VSiN on your television. Why don't you like it on your computer and your mobile phone too? Head to VSiN.com, VSiN. You can get the best bet splits, articles, odds, tools, betting guides, and every single other thing that we do right over at VSiN.com in a shiny new toy that looks really, really great on your mobile phone as well. Functionality as good as ever. Head to VSiN.com and take it all in. Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming to you here on our schedule release special. Handle on a Wednesday night. Mike, did you ever think it would happen?
Oh, man, you need a handle every night, every day of the week. Let's go. You got to have us all the time.
Every single day of the week, just a handle for you guys out there. So this is something that I think that we can caution people on, because there are going to be a lot of people that put out some analysis tomorrow, and they're going to base their analysis off of strength of schedule that dates back to last year and stuff that happened in the past. And like for me and Mike, from a betting standpoint, it's just not applicable, right? Because how a team did last year's winning percentage doesn't really matter to us, right? I mean, at the end of the day, key free agent signings, people returning from injury. Yes, we're talking Falcons. Yes, we're talking Jets. And things like that, Mike, are just way, way too important. So whenever we see all these things where it's like, oh yeah, their schedule, win percentage last year based on opponents is XXX, it's kind of like, well, that's cool and all, but it doesn't tell us anything whenever we're heading into this new season. I want to know, how hard is their schedule going to be projected based off of what we think these teams are going to do next season?
Well, that's the key here, right? Last year's records are last year's records, but there's a lot of noise in them, right? You mentioned it, injuries. You've got timing, like Philadelphia, for instance. Without that gauntlet of a schedule, they probably are better than their end record. You've got Baltimore, or you've got Cincinnati with Burrow coming back. Their win percentage doesn't really line up with what they actually were last year. So looking forward, if you're able to look at win totals, so you look at what the Vegas number is for these teams to win this year, and you analyze the schedules based off of that, you get more reflective data of what they actually have to face this year versus what they are facing, since they're not facing last year's versions of these teams.
So when we go in and we do it based off of win totals, we see that the toughest schedule in the NFL is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you and I have dubbed that division already the division of death. I think that it's fair for us to do that whenever you look at the fact that 3 of the 4 teams are listed in the toughest schedules here, Mike. And Steelers, Browns, Ravens come in at 1, 3, and 4. And honestly, that makes sense. You are playing a bunch of games against teams that are supposed to be good. And so it's not necessarily saying that you should pump the brakes on any of these teams, but it's certainly something that we have to consider as we move forward with some of these teams based off of maybe win totals, or whether we think it's better for them to just get into the playoffs as opposed to them to win the division, all those different type of things, because we do have a division that's supposed to have at least 4 all 4 teams are supposed to be at least quality. That's not saying the Steelers are going to be good, but at least quality, and we think the other 3 teams are going to be good as well.
Well, it's important when you're looking at this, too, to try and find specific stretches of the schedule where you can take advantage of it. Now, Pittsburgh probably not going to be.
We got Mike.
Back half.
Oh, there we go. You back, Mike? There we go.
Yeah. But if you look at the back half of the schedule here for Pittsburgh, that's where it's really, really brutal for them. You've got Baltimore, at Cleveland, at Cincy, Cleveland, at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. Those last 8 games specifically for Pittsburgh, just an absolute gauntlet they're going to have to run.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where I was looking at with Pittsburgh in particular, right? If we look, so there is Denver, Chargers, Colts, Vegas, Giants, like all before their bye there in week 9. You even come back to a Washington game. So maybe we look at Pittsburgh, like that calendar thing that you're talking about, Mike, is like, maybe we set that for week 10, see what that Pittsburgh record looks like, see if that season win total has been adjusted, and then we come in and we just pound the under on whatever number that is.
Yeah, you look at under, you look to miss playoffs, those type of numbers where if you can get plus money to miss the playoffs, that's a good spot. If you can get an under number you like, that's a good spot. We'll also have more information around injuries for these teams later in the season, but that last 8 games, absolutely brutal for Pittsburgh. So you want to really look, week 10, like you said, Matt, set that calendar invite up for you and try and figure out how you can monetize that late part of the Pittsburgh schedule.
Another one of the things we could probably look at here, despite what the beat reporters are saying, Mike, is if they're already in the dumpster come week 9, week 10, we're probably going to see Justin Fields because they're coming out of the bye. Then you get week 10 right there. So if they're already in the trash can, then that might be just the kind of natural place for them to make the switch.
I would be shocked if you don't see Justin Fields late in this schedule. Early on, you could see them win a couple games and decide to stick around with Russell Wilson, but that last 8 games, you're going to see Justin Fields. You want to find out what you have there.
The second toughest schedule in the NFL this season is the New England Patriots, and that's not good for a team that's not very good in the first place, Mike. We take a look, and I've been saying this all. I think they're probably the worst team in the NFL. I think they're probably going to end up being the worst team in the NFL this season. And then you tack on top of that they have the second toughest schedule going along with not very much talent. It's going to be a long season up there in Boston. Hopefully the Celtics don't blow it for them. Hopefully the Bruins don't blow it for them or whatever, because, man, it could be a rough stretch for them.
It's going to be a rough year if you're a New England Patriots fan here. If you look through their schedule, they have Seattle at home week 2. They don't win that game. They probably don't get a chance to win a game until week 9. This is a team where if you look at the last team to win a game market, you got to think that the Patriots have to be one of the favorites. If you're playing survivor pools, you may just want to buy an entry and just fade the Patriots every single week in that entry because of how tough this schedule actually is. Their most winnable game, probably week 15 at Arizona. They legitimately could go winless this year, Matt.
Yeah, you take a look and it's one of those deals where it's not only a tough schedule, Mike, and it's on if you're watching us right now, it's on your screen. But if you take a look, they get that late bye too, so there's not like that bye week to try to, the natural switch if they did want to put in Drake May or something like that. They don't have that in the middle of the season, so they're going to have to just kind of make a clunky change if he doesn't start from day one. Then you have the fact that there's really no there's at least like a 3-game stretch that's kind of soft, because you could at least point and say, well, Titans, Bears, Rams, but 2 of those are on the road. It's at Titans, at Bears, and then it's Rams, who we think are probably the best of those 3 teams. And so even the soft part still includes 2 back-to-back road games.
Yeah, it's brutal. And they're, like I said, after the bye, they've got at Arizona. That's the game you're circling here if you're a New England fan, if they don't get a win early on in that part. And the late bye to them is very, very rough as well. You mentioned it. When you've got Drake May, you want to be able to have a bye week. We'll call it week 5, week 6, somewhere in there. So you have Brissett start the season. You're able to get that bye. You roll May into it when he has a week to prepare, or 2 weeks to prepare fully with that offense. They don't get that luxury. And it's shocking to me, too, because this is a 4th-place schedule. How is this a 4th-place schedule? Like, this is brutal for the Patriots here coming in here and having to try and go through this entire stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the bummers for them, right, is that the Jets didn't have a good record last year. The Jets get exponentially better, and then that's in that division as well. It's just not good for them. The 5th toughest schedule in the NFL as we head into the season, according to win projections, again, is the Minnesota Vikings. Yet another division that's going to have, a lot of good teams, Mike. And so you go in and you look at this Viking squad, despite the talent around them, you look and you're like, okay, well, I get it, because San Francisco's on this schedule, then Houston's on this schedule, then it's on the road agreement. Like the early part of this schedule for Minnesota, you get the early bye, which I guess maybe if you don't start J.J. McCarthy from day one, which I think you do anyway, but if you don't, there's your natural spot for him. But it's just not again, it's kind of the same deal we're talking about with the Patriots. There's just not really like a soft spot. There's not really a good landing spot there for any of this, because there's a 3-game road stretch in there as well, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, at Chicago. I know we're gonna talk about this division a little bit more later in the show. We were going to try to make a case for Minnesota a little bit, but now you see the schedule and how things come out, and it's like even when you get a stretch of Titans and Bears, they're both on the road, and that's at the end of a 3-game stretch as well on the road.
Yeah, it's tough for Minnesota here. Like you said, I wanted to make a case for them to be able to win the division, run second in the division, make the playoffs. This is tough. I mean, I'm not sure what you do with J.J. McCarthy now. You may not want to start him right out of the gate, because those 4 games, the Niners, the Texans, the Packers, and the Jets right out of the gate are very, very tough. You've got at Giants the first week, so that's at least a softer game. But it's hard to find a spot where you really want to insert him. I do got to give a hat tip to the schedule makers here. You do have the Falcons coming to Minnesota. So you got Kirk Cousins coming back week 14 to take on the Minnesota Vikings. That should be a fun game. And that's going to be the key part of the stretch for this Minnesota here. Maybe they're a team where you want to look for them out after the bye, after that versus Lions game. You got the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Bears. Yes, 3 or 4 of those are on the road, but at least those are winnable games for them. It's going to be tough to win these games early.
Mike, it is the NFL schedule release special, but there is other sports going on, and we do have one team advancing. The Celtics get it done, 113-98 over the Cavs, a 15-point win with no Donovan Mitchell out there for the Cavs. Cavs kept it interesting early. Celtics get it done late. They move on, a 4-1 series win there for the Celtics.
Good for the C's. Moving on, they get a banged-up Knicks team where the Pacers waiting for them. This is broken perfectly for the Celtics.
It really did break very, very well for them. I know producer Steph back there is loving this. When we come back, we'll take a look at the easiest schedules, and is there an opportunity on any of these teams? It is the Handle Schedule Release Special.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it again! DraftKings Casino presents Spring Break Rewind! Soak up games exclusive to DK brands like Rocket, plus custom takes on favorites like Blackjack, slots, and more. New customers can play $5 and get $100 instantly in casino credits from America's top online casino. Boom! The crown is yours.
Right now, if you sign up for a VSiN Pro annual subscription, you get an extra 2 months for free. What's worth betting on over the next 14 months?
The NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the rest
the
of the baseball season, the World Series, all three Triple
Absolutely
Crown races,
betting
the NFL
on
regular
that.
season, the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl.
Crushed on that last year. Got to do better. And that's what we're here for. If you plan on betting any of these, head to vsin.com/subscribe and use the promo code football to get 2 free months with your annual subscription.
NBA playoffs,
The time of unreliable injury reports and rest days are over. The playoffs are here, and it's the best time to bet the NBA. Throughout the NBA playoffs, VSiN has daily best bets, analytics reports, and series previews all the way through the NBA Finals. You can also watch our 24/7 video stream, access our betting splits, and get picks sent to your inbox every morning so you can get ahead of any late line movement. To get access to everything VSiN has to offer for the NBA playoffs, become a VSiN Pro subscriber at vsin.com/pro.
If you didn't catch VSiN Primetime, here's what you missed.
We'll give you your Notre Dame minute. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
Win total's 10.
I think the thing that you are most excited about,
because you open up at Texas A&M, right?
Yep. Where you're an underdog at DraftKings right now. Outside of that, there'll be a favorite in every single game. The only games, in my opinion, that will be tricky outside of Texas A&M.
The only ones.
Only ones. September 28th, home to Louisville. November 5th, home to Florida State. And then regular season finale at USC. I think those are the games where it could be a stumbling block for the Irish outside of Texas A&M. The way I would attack this, instead of playing over under 10 wins, in my opinion, if you think you're going to go over 10 wins, I think it goes correlated with the Texas A&M game. So I would play money line Notre Dame at Texas A&M.
VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
I don't know about you, but I'm expecting a lot of points to be scored this year in the NFL. Let's take a look at some of the players that could be scoring lots of touchdowns with the latest odds to win Offensive Player of the Year. I'm Tim Murray from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Christian McCaffrey is the favorite. The San Francisco 49er running back sits at plus 650. Last year, over 1,400 yards rushing and 500 receiving yards in total. 21 touchdowns for McCaffrey. Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins has the same odds as Christian McCaffrey at plus 650. Down in Dallas, CeeDee Lamb plus 850 to win OPOY. He had 1,700 receiving yards last year and 12 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, who knows who will be his quarterback, likely J.J. McCarthy. He sits at 14-1, only played 10 games just a year ago, and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati is 12-1.
To become a VSiN Pro subscriber, head to vsin.com/subscribe.
This is VSiN senior MLB analyst Adam Burke. Let's face it, between bad managers and umpires like Angel Hernandez, betting on baseball can be brutal. But my daily article is here to help. Every morning, I go through each MLB matchup and give you my best bets of the day. I analyze pitching matchups, study analytics, look at lineups, and even weather reports, all to find value on the baseball slate. My daily article is only available to VSiN Pro subscribers. To become a subscriber, head to vsin.com/pro today.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We usually give you a discounted annual subscription over at VSiN Pro. It's $199 for 12 months, and we decided that wasn't enough. That wasn't good enough, Mike. We do more for you here at The Handle, so we decided we're going to tack on 2 months. You can only get it if you use a promo code HANDLE. That's not true, but we would just appreciate you using the promo code HANDLE, HANDLE, because we're sitting here, VSiN.com/subscribe for 14 months, only $199. Mike went in and did the math. It is 46.6 cents or something like that a day, Mike. And, you know, that's just not all that much. 14 months, we're giving you 2 months absolutely free, $199. We typically only give you 12 for $199. This is the deal to take advantage of.
Yeah, just 47 cents a day. If you round up, you get all the articles, all the splits, all the picks, and the site's going to be loaded up this week with NFL content as well. So you really want to be a pro this week. Make sure you check it out and use promo code HANDLE, HANDLE.
That's true. We've got all kinds of stuff going on this weekend. Golf things, horse things. Of course, we'll have schedule analysis up on there. We got all the things, HANDLE. That's all we're saying. VSiN.com/subscribe. So we do have the easiest schedules. We're talking the hardest schedules in the NFL, the easiest schedules based on projected win totals. If you weren't with us last segment, we do not do this based off of last year's win percentages. We do this based off of win totals and what we think these teams are going to do this upcoming season. And the Atlanta Falcons have the easiest schedule. Not only the easiest schedule, Mike, the easiest schedule by a lot. And probably the reason why you and I were so high on them, because, hey, guess what? That division stinks. And so when that division stinks, you're going to get an Atlanta Falcons team that has the easiest schedule. That being said, I think I might be looking to kind of double down on this Falcons team if for whatever reason things don't go according to plan early, because if you really want to nitpick the schedule, Mike, they do start Steelers, at Eagles, and then Chiefs. And then it just becomes smooth sailing from there. But that is a pretty tough 3-game stretch to start the season. We might get a better price on this Falcons team. We might get a better season win total on this Falcons team. We might get better everything on this Falcons team. So I am 100% circling week 3 and putting in my calendar, check what's going on with the Falcons, because as I already am heavily invested in this team, I think we might be able to kind of get back, maybe even get back into that plus money territory here.
I would love for them to start out 0-3. That would just be ideal here. I mean, somehow lose that opening game at the Steelers, and then be able to, at home against the Steelers, and then lose at Philly, lose to Kansas City. Like you said, after that, I mean, the toughest road game is, I don't even know. I mean, it's Carolina, Tampa, New Orleans, Denver, Minnesota, Las Vegas, and Washington is the rest of your road schedule. I mean, that's just Cupcake City. They can take care of business at home. This is a team that could just rattle off, 10 of 11, 10 of 12 through that later part of the season, be able to still fly over their win total. Going to be really interesting to see what the books do with them, Matt, because this is a really, really easy one to spot, right? Like everyone knows after week 3, this is a Falcons team that should really hit the ground running. And we know this Falcons team is taking a ton of money from both the division perspective, the win total over perspective. So I'm not sure how much of an adjustment you're going to get, but if you aren't in on the Falcons now, you might as well wait until week 3 to decide what you want to do with them, because you're going to get somewhat of a discount if they start out 1-2 or 0-3.
And we look at these road games for this Falcons team too. And here's the thing that we always knock, right? All these dome teams, and they got to go outdoors and into the cold and all that. Mike, they have 2 cold games all year, and they're not until week 11, and then week 17 of the season they go to Denver, and then they go to Washington. You can look on here because there's the at Carolina. That's early in the season, week 6. It's not going to be cold there. At Tampa, it never gets cold there. At New Orleans in week 10, of course, that's a dome. Then we go at Minnesota. Yeah, it's going to be cold there, but who cares? That's in a dome as well. And then at Las Vegas, that is also a dome. So you have a dome team with a bunch of dome road games. They only go outdoors in the cold twice all season long. These are the things we love to do, to nitpick and pick apart these teams that we really like heading into a season once the schedule comes out. But this actually broke even better for them as well.
They also they have 2 Monday Night Football games, so 2 weeks they'll have short rest. Not very many games there. One of those 2 is at Philly week 2, which they have short rest into Kansas City, which I kind of want them to lose both games. Their other short rest game is going to be they play at Las Vegas Monday night on week 15, but then they come back and play at home against the Giants. So not a team you're worried about on short rest. So even from a rest perspective, this broke well for the Falcons.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. The second easiest schedule, Chargers. Third, the Bears. Fourth, the Jets. Fifth, the Saints. And Mike, I want to skip down to the Jets real quick because I do think that this is of note. If you do like the Jets, if you want to fade the Jets, I should say, maybe you wait to fade the Jets. If you want to bet against the Jets, if you don't think this Jets team is going to be as good as everyone thinks, it starts off tough in week 1 where they're at San Francisco, but then it's at Tennessee, New England, Denver, Minnesota, the first 5 games of the season. You're going to get Will Levis, maybe Drake May, maybe Bo Nix, maybe J.J. McCarthy, and if it's not any of those guys, it's all going to be like replacement level quarterbacks if it's not rookie quarterbacks. And then you have Will Levis there in week 2. So maybe you wait to fade the Jets until, after those first 5 games because, man, they might really break. I mean, if all these rookies end up starting, which we don't know, but if all these rookies end up starting, they're going to get 3 rookie quarterbacks in the first 5 games and Will Levis in week 2.
They also have New England week 8. They've got Arizona week 10, Indianapolis week 11. So another 3 easier games before their bye. After their bye, it gets tough. They've got Seattle at Miami, at Jacksonville, the Rams at Buffalo, Miami to close out the season. This is one where I'm going to look and say, hey, can I find someone else to win the AFC East in week 12? When they're on their bye, is there a team that I want to go in and try and see if they can leapfrog this Jets team because they have those 3 tough divisional games later in the season, and they've got to play Buffalo, the Rams, at Jacksonville as well. That later part of the schedule is where the difficulty is for the Jets. And so this is another opportunity where later in the season you want to go in, take a look at, I wouldn't look at the win total, but I would look at the division odds and see if you can find someone who's going to be able to leapfrog them inside the division.
One other thing just about the schedule, guys, over the course of the season, if you've been anti-streaming, you better get with it because there's streaming games all over the place. You're streaming on Peacock. We're streaming on Amazon. We're streaming on ESPN Plus. We're streaming on Netflix. I mean, there's just games all over the place, Mike. Listen, if you fought it for as long as you did, you can't fight it any longer.
I saw a tweet about this. If you bought all of the streaming subscriptions for the full length of the NFL season, that includes direct YouTube TV as well as NFL ticket, you would end up paying a little over $1,200 for the full NFL package now.
Yeah, that's more than you were paying before.
Yeah, just a touch more. Now remember, you don't need Netflix the whole season. Just cancel it after they have that game, right? But it's still brutal.
The third easiest schedule on the list is of note because it's the Chicago Bears, and this is where we know this is the one we know without a doubt, right? Starting from day one is going to be Caleb Williams. They've already said it. So, I mean, they've already said this is they don't want him worrying about any of this stuff as he heads into training camp. He is going to be their starter week 1. And you take a look at this schedule, Mike, and it's like, man, I know we thought that 8.5 was a bit lofty whenever we just assumed that this team was going to be so much better with a rookie quarterback. But, I mean, Titans, sure, Texans, that sucks. But Colts, Panthers, then you get the bye, then you get Commanders in 8, Cardinals in 9, Patriots in 10. I mean, like, you could be looking at a very good record for this Bears team heading into a game against the Packers in week 11. And who knows what the Packers are going to look like by week 11? Who knows what this Bears team is going to look like by week 11? We might be thinking when it's all said and done, this 8.5 win total was too low.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the back half of this schedule.
Yeah.
You mentioned week 11. That's where it gets tough for them. You've got the Vikings sitting there week 12 and week 15. We'll see what version of the Vikings we get at that point. We'll see if J.J. McCarthy's any good. This is another one where you kind of want to keep an eye on them post week 11 or post week 10. Do you want to take to miss the playoffs? Do you want to take an in-season under, something like that? Because they do have the opportunity to start out very good. And we know that defense is good as well. So if that defense can replicate what they had during the later part of the season and the offense figures it out relatively quickly, they probably don't even need to click that well all that early to be able to rip off some wins here. But then they do have to take on the Lions twice. They've got to take on the Niners. They got the Seahawks. They got the Packers twice. That latter part of the schedule is where the Bears are really going to face their biggest test. It's another team where, you send that calendar invite to yourself week 10. Do I want to try and fade this Bears team? Because the schedule gets a lot tougher the back half.
Absolutely. One thing I will say, though, if you were starting a rookie quarterback and you were trying to get everything acclimated and all that, you'd rather him have the easy part early and the hard part late. That's for sure. And so at least from a Bears perspective, if you're a Bears fan, it broke for you that way.
Oh yeah, you love seeing this if you're a Bears fan. It gives Caleb Williams time to learn the offense. Like I said, you've got that defense, which would help him out earlier in the season, and you've got Adunze. You've got new weapons there as well that they need to work into that offense. So this broke perfectly for the Bears. It's just a question of whether or not be good enough later in the schedule.
I don't care if you look and see that the Saints have the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL. Do not bet the Saints. Do not think the Saints are going to do anything. The Saints are not going to be good this year. I'm telling you right now, Mike, that's what's going to happen. Some other interesting kind of quirks here. If you're wondering which teams travel the most, just strictly based off of mileage and mileage alone, the Chargers travel across 36 different time zones, Mike, 26,803 miles over the course of the season. So the Chargers are going to be spending a lot of time on some fancy planes.
Yeah, they're going all over the country here this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
Over at DraftKings, every single Week 1 line is out. We're going to take a look at them when we come back.
If you didn't catch Follow the Money, here's what you missed.
Most books put up Caitlin Clark props on the year. Here's the one that I found it's basically worded, will she average 22 points per game in the regular season? There was a yes, no. I grabbed the no plus 130 on that.
Wow.
When I bet it, it was yes was minus 160. So I haven't checked it today, but I grabbed immediately wanted to grab the plus 130 on the no, and I did that. Because you're right. I mean, between 18.5 and then 22, I don't know. If she can average 22 points per game, that's the biggest problem I have with. If she does, she's obviously going to be better than expected. Then.
Yep. And the props I played, I gave out that the season-long props was the made threes under, and then what she's going to average a game for the entire season. So total points.
Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard. Weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
At VSiN, we've got you covered before, during, and after every game. Jumpstart your game day with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN Primetime at 6 Eastern. They'll get you ready before the first tip, puck drop, and pitch, ensuring you're ahead of the game. Then stay in the loop during all the action with the Greg Peterson Experience at 9. And as the night wraps up, join Matt Humans and Wes Reynolds on VSiN Tonight at 11, giving you the first look at tomorrow's lines to get an edge on the next day's bets. All this and more, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
The time of unreliable injury reports and rest days are over. The playoffs are here, and it's the best time to bet the NBA. Throughout the NBA playoffs, VSiN has daily best bets, analytics reports, and series previews all the way through the NBA Finals. You can also watch our 24/7 video stream, access our betting splits, and get picks sent to your inbox every morning so you can get ahead of any late line movement. To get access to everything VSiN has to offer for the NBA playoffs, become a VSiN Pro subscriber at VSiN.com/pro.
If you think about betting football all year round, the Lombardi Line on VSiN is the perfect show for you. 7 days a week, you can watch and listen to the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. He gives his honest opinions on personnel signings, draft decisions, and every offseason move to help you as a bettor. Catch the show weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on weekends at 10 a.m. Eastern. The Lombardi Line, 7 days a week, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
I don't have to tell my co-host it's horse racing time. He's already talked to every single one of the horses and the jockeys, but you got to saddle up with DK Horse, an official DraftKings affiliate here right now. New customers who download the DK Horse app can get a 100% deposit bonus up to $250 when you use the promo code VSiN Horse. That's all one word, VSiNHORSE. Just deposit $25 or more and complete the playthrough. Requirement: wager on your favorite horses, then watch the races live right inside of the app. Download the DK Horse app today. Get it going. Mike's going to tell you some stuff here on Saturday. Hopefully, we're going to get home. We're going to fare better in this one than we did in the first one. This is a better race for you, for horse handicappers, because there's not 20 horses. You guys can go in, you narrow it down, you say, like, this guy, he's a bum, he's out. This guy, he's good, he's going to win.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, although it got a little bit harder. We do have Muth, who is going to be your favorite in the Preakness scratch out this morning. So that's unfortunate, but that means that we've got a shot to take Mystic Dan down. He'll be a short price.
What happened to the Muth?
He spiked the 103 fever, Matt. Can't run when you got a fever.
Oh, boy. It was more steroids? Is that what's going on?
I don't think steroids give you a fever.
Whatever, some sort of fever. I don't know. He's got something going on. I mean, you'll talk to him before it's all said and done.
I'll get the interview.
Yeah, you'll get the interview. All right, like we said, over at DraftKings Sportsbook, guys, they wasted no time. Each and every week one line is up over there. Thursday, kicking things off on a Thursday, Ravens and Chiefs. The Chiefs are 3-point home favorites over the Ravens there. 47.5 is your total, plus 130 if you think the Ravens win this thing outright. Mike, look, I think that you were higher on the Chiefs last year than most. I was lower on the Ravens last year than most. I think that we're probably in the same boat. I'm not as high on the Ravens, I think, as the general public. I'm probably neutral on the Chiefs. I still think they're going to be very good. I don't know if I think that they're like super great again. I think this line seems very appropriate. This is not one that I would look to jump on.
No, this isn't one you need to get involved early, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is probably -3 when they kick off, right, yeah. Matt? Like, there's no point in tying up your money unless you think you have a significant edge. If you thought this was going to go to Chiefs -4.5, then yes, you want to tie your money up at this point. But I would be surprised if we see that kind of move. I'm down on Baltimore versus the general public, and I'm pro Chiefs. But that doesn't mean I'm really interested in betting the Chiefs a bunch during the season. I'm pro-Chiefs once we get to the playoffs, that their chances to win the Super Bowl are good again, that they'll win the division. But from a week-to-week basis, the Chiefs are not one of my favorite teams to be betting on. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for them too, right? I mean, not that it's going to be like a complete fall over, but it's a year later for Kelsey. It's going to be a year older. We don't know the Rashee Rice situation, what's going to be going on there. There's just a lot of different things that we were going to have to figure out about this Chiefs team. Remember, they kind of stumbled at the beginning of last year before figuring it out, right? So it's kind of one of those things. The offense was bland, and then they got it going towards the end, and maybe that's what we're going to be looking at again with them. Keep doubting us, Matt. Just keep doubting us. Chiefs Nation. You. All right, so on Friday, we got the Packers and the Eagles. This is Eagles, 1.5 favorites at home over the Packers. 48.5 is your total. If you've been watching any of our programming, you know I am much, 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 much higher on the Eagles than most people are out there. Mike, this would be a game I would bet if I didn't want to lock money up for 4 months. That being said, if I feel like this thing is going to be on the move, and I should mention, I guess, that it is minimally juiced -112 right now in favor of the Eagles. I think the Packers can be good. I think Jordan Love can be good. I think it is a tough task on the road, first game of the season, to go into Philly when Philly will be fully healthy. Philly will be ready to rock there. I think that this is an interesting game from an Eagles perspective. I bet half a unit, Eagles -1.5, -110, Matt. I don't want this to run. And this is an interesting spot because you've got a team that finished poorly in the Eagles versus a team that everyone loves and finished well with the Packers. And so you've got that momentum on one side and the lack of it on the other. We talked about this Eagles team. I love what they did during the offseason. I like what they did during the draft. I'm not saying the Packers aren't good. I was higher than the Packers than most at the end of the season. I'm saying they're not properly priced right now. The assumption is they will be better than they were last year, and the Eagles are going to be worse than they were last year by this line. This should be Eagles -3. I came in, I took some Eagles already. I'll keep slowly adding to that position as long as we stay at this 1.5. If we get to 2, I'll probably finish off the unit at that point because I don't want to take anything at 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, this screams Eagles to me. And again, this is where we can start mentioning this. You mentioned this to me on break, but it's something we can start to point out. There are going to be a lot of teasable games in week 1. There's going to be a lot of teaser liability at these books, Mike, and this could be the start of one. I mean, this is already teasable at 1.5. If we get to 2, which it seems it might, right? I mean, it might get to 2. We're already starting to see the juice move at least a little bit on the 1.5. I don't know if there will be a ton of love for the Packers on the road. I would like to think that it was going to be a lot of Eagles stuff. This probably gets to 2. So we're going to be 7.5, 8 if you wanted to on the Packers side. We'll start to point out those teaser opportunities as well along the way whenever we get going with all of this. Not interested in that either. Got to be perfectly honest. I want to see the Packers a couple of times first. I liked what we saw at the end of last year, Mike. I like Jordan Love. I think he's going to be fine, but I kind of want to back up my opinion a little bit before I come in and take them.
This to me, like, I get it if you want to play all the long teasers early, I understand. But if you look at the success of teasers early and late in the season, post week 6, teasers have traditionally done a lot better the last 2 years. And that makes sense because we're more dialed into what these teams are. The market is much more mature 6 weeks into the NFL season than it is week 1 or week 2. And so I'm not as aggressive with teasers. And this is one where I'm probably going to pass on it because I do see a world where the Eagles go out, win by 10, 14 points in this spot at home and want to make a statement in week 1.
We know it'll be Daniel Jones. We don't know who it will be for the Minnesota Vikings. And right now we have the Giants as 1-point favorites over the Vikings. 41.5 is our total, though this is juiced a little bit towards taking that point with the Vikings. This could be a pick 'em when it's all said and done. Mike, we look at this Viking squad and kind of see that this is a team that is not bad. I mean, like, it's got all the pieces there. It's just the quarterback position that there's a little bit of a question mark about. And if they do decide to start J.J. McCarthy there in week 1, he's at least got a lot of good pieces around him.
He does. And this is one of those where I'm a little more intrigued to tease it. Like, the Giants just not a team I'm worried about blowing people out. You don't have Saquon Barkley there anymore. They did add from a wide receiver perspective with Neighbors, so you should think the offense is going to be a little bit better. But what do we expect out of Daniel Jones? What are we expecting out of this offensive line? Are we going to see the same defense that we saw last year? Just not a team that I'm all that afraid of getting blown out by is the Giants here. That being said, I kind of like the Giants a little bit and betting the game straight up just because you are probably going to get a rookie quarterback. But if it's Sam Darnold specifically, I like the teaser option for the Vikings here.
Teaser Palooza in week 1 continues with Texans and Colts as the Texans are 1.5 road favorites over the Colts. 48 is our total. It is fairly popular to take a home team up over a touchdown. That being said, 48 is a high total, so not necessarily your typical kind of teaser range when it comes to totals there, Mike. I think when it all comes down to it, for me, not one that I would want to get in the account from a teaser standpoint. Maybe one I would be at least a little bit more inclined to come in on the Texans, even with it being a road game. Mainly because while I do think Anthony Richardson showed us signs of life there early on in the season for the Colts, it's a pretty small sample size, right? And so we're not 100% sure what he is. We are 100% sure what CJ Stroud is. And let's go ahead and add him a weapon that they traded for. Have a lean there towards the Texans in this one strictly because, again, I think Anthony Richardson could be fine, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you get rookie year part 2 here for Anthony Richardson after playing just 3 games his rookie season. Now, he's phenomenal in those 3 games. I shouldn't say phenomenal. He was very good in those 3 games, but a lot of that was with his legs. And it's going to be interesting to see how much they want him to run, specifically early in the season, for this Colts team because they need to keep him healthy if they want to compete later in the season as well. And you don't have Gardner Minshew waiting in the wings to be able to come in and take over if you do have an injury to Richardson. I'm not going to tease this now. Like, I don't see a world where this goes to Colts plus a half, right? I think if anything, this goes higher on the Texans side. And so you can kind of hold this one in the back burner if you want to tease this game to Colts. I'm Colts are passing this spot. But it would be a teaser leg for me if we get closer to the year.
Oh, this one is going to be in everyone's teaser. Everyone. Patriots and the Bengals. Cincinnati currently an 8-point favorite at home over New England. 43 is our total. You could take Cincinnati down to 2, and I can assure you, Mike, every single first leg of whatever teaser for week number 1 is going to start with this. This is going to be the most popular teaser leg of the week, maybe of the damn season when it's all said and done. We talked about how hard this schedule is for the Patriots. We talked about what the lack of talent just overall for them. Joe Burrow back for Cincinnati, all of that, everything here. You get them down under a field goal. This is going to be in everyone's account as a teaser leg. Everyone's.
Yeah, I already teased them with the Vikings. Yeah. I already teased the Vikings up. I teased the Bengals down. I think the Bengals down, Bills down teaser is going to be a massive liability for the Bucs in week 1.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is one of those where we sit there and say, I figure this one's going to be popular. No. That one is going to be popular. I can assure you that one is going to be popular. We'll continue to run through some week 1 lines here. Some of the stuff early on in the season, too, maybe could affect some of these player props or award markets. Maybe we'll start to break that down whenever it comes, whenever we start to figure these things out as we react live here to the NFL schedule release.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it again! DraftKings Casino presents Spring Break Rewind! Soak up games exclusive to DK brands like Rocket, plus custom takes on favorites like Blackjack, slots, and more. New customers can play $5 and get $100 instantly in casino credits from America's top online casino. Boom! The crown is yours.
Right now, if you sign up for a VSiN Pro annual subscription, you get an extra 2 months for free. What's worth betting on over the next 14 months?
The NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the rest of the baseball season, the World Series, all 3 Triple Crown races,
Absolutely
the
betting
NFL
on
regular
that.
season, the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl,
Crushed on that last year. Got to do better. And that's what we're here for. If you plan on betting any of these, head to vsin.com/subscribe and use the promo code football to get 2 free months with your annual subscription.
NBA playoffs, the 20.
If you didn't catch a numbers game, here's what you missed.
Aaron Rodgers is even money to win Comeback Player of the Year. And that makes sense because he's Aaron Rodgers. And remember, famously on play 4 last year, he ruptured his Achilles tendon. Not to play again with the New York Jetropolitans. So is there a built-in narrative for him? Of course there is, because he's loudmouth Aaron Rodgers. And he's even money. Kirk Cousins is 5-1. Now, help me out. Kirk Cousins also with the Achilles injury.
Yeah, I know where you're going here. Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson, by the way, is plus 750. Can you win a Comeback Player of the Year coming back from a handful of games as a rookie? What are you coming back from?
I mean, maybe if he'd have to be outstanding.
A numbers game with Gil Alexander. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The Utah Utes have the shortest odds to win the Big 12. Yes, that's right. We'll have some new faces in that conference this year. Let's take a look at the latest odds to win the Big 12. I'm Tim Murray from VSiN, the sports betting network. The aforementioned Utah Utes are at plus 340 to win the conference this year. Kyle Whittingham entering his 20th season in Salt Lake City. They were 8-5 just a year ago. They lost their bowl game in Las Vegas to Northwestern. Cam Rising, who missed all of last year, is back this upcoming season. Kansas State is plus 360 to win the Big 12. Chris Kleiman entering year number 6. The Wildcats went 9-4 just a year ago, lost their bowl game to NC State. Will Howard out the door, but Avery Johnson brings a lot of excitement. The Kansas Jayhawks, they're plus 750 to win it all.
To become a VSiN Pro subscriber, head to vsin.com/subscribe.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Samich on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is The Handle NFL schedule release special, brought to you by Zyn Nicotine Pouches. Find out more at Zyn.com. Matt Brown, Mike Samich coming to you. We were running through some week one lines. We'll get to some more of those a little bit later in the show as well. Mike, one of the things I did notice when we were trying to prep, right as all this is going live, trying to figure things out. So some of these award markets and even some of these, player prop markets, this is kind of the last thing that comes to people's mind, but is something that maybe, could come into play with the way that these schedules look. And so I think people look at win totals and people look at odds for the divisions and all that, and maybe overlook some of these other little things. And it's kind of one of these deals where if you like Lamar to go back to back as MVP, you might want to wait on that, right? Because Baltimore starts out at Kansas City, week 3 at Dallas, Buffalo in week 4, and then at Cincy in week 5. The schedule gets a lot easier starting in week 6, but that's a very tough 4 of 5 games for Baltimore to start the season. The same thing could even be said of Patrick Mahomes. If you like Patrick Mahomes for MVP this year, they start out Baltimore, Cincinnati, at Atlanta, and then things ease up after week 3, where you kind of get to week 4 there for Kansas City. So you can start even in these awards markets to circle and stuff and put things in your calendar and say, like, you know what? Maybe the line doesn't move in your favor. Maybe they win all these games, and then you did lose a number. But if we're playing the odds, and we do, that's what we do here, they're likely to lose some of these games, maybe a couple of them, if not all of those games that I just mentioned. And so you're going to get a much, much better price on some of these dudes, even in the awards markets. I know we focus on win totals. I know we focus on just the overall numbers attached to these teams, but this could even affect players as well.
It really could. I mean, Mahomes jumped out at me right away because you've got Lamar week 1, you've got Burrow week 2. Two of the other teams are going to be competing for the 1 seed in the AFC. If you like Kansas City in both those games, and you want to bet Mahomes to win the MVP, you better do it before the season starts, because if Kansas City wins both those games and Mahomes is the reason why, which guess what, he probably will be, he's going to be your shorter favorite for the MVP right after 2 weeks. The other one that jumped out to me, Matt, Caleb Williams. We mentioned the early part of this Bears schedule. If you like Caleb Williams, now might be the time to bet him as Rookie of the Year. And if you like someone else, you might want to wait until like week 8 or 9 until the Bears get into that back half of the schedule, because we could see that market flip later in the season.
Kind of the same deal, if you want to. I already have this bet in. I think you put it in as well. But, we kind of like at least having a long shot ticket on Goff for MVP. You need to bet that now. Like if you look at the schedule for Detroit, it's Rams, Bucks at home, at Arizona, Seattle, then a bye. So, I mean, like, you're talking about this dude could be leader in the clubhouse by week 6 when this is all said and done. It's like, you don't want to wait on that for Jared Goff, especially at a number like 40-1. Some of these lower numbers aren't going to shift all that much. If they start out, Mike, if Detroit starts out hot and they go into the bye week undefeated, that 40-1 on Goff is going to be 15-1, 12-1, something like that. And like, you're going to get less than half of what you can get today. So while we're saying maybe there's some of these guys to wait on, some of these guys, you just mentioned Caleb Williams, Jared Goff on an MVP market. There are some of these dudes you might want to bet today.
Yeah, well, Goff, a great example as well. Only 3 true road games all year on the schedule. 2 of those are week 16 and week 17. So not till the back half of the season, you'd expect that offense going to be clicking, going to be able to put up points. If they're winning games, you can get a 40-1 shot now that'll be, 5-1, 6-1, something like that when they're going into their bye. And if that's the case, it's an easy ticket to monetize.
The full bye week schedule. Week 5 is Eagles, Chargers, Lions, and Titans. Week 6 is the Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings. Week 7, Bears, Cowboys. Week 9, so no off week there in week 8. Week 9, Niners and the Steelers. So they got that nice middle of the season bye there for the Niners and for the Steelers. Week 10, a good opportunity for the Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks there in week 10. Week 11, Cardinals, Panthers, Bucks and the Giants. Week 12, Falcons, Bills, Cincy, Jags, Saints, and Jets. And we already talked about that really late week 14. They take week 13 off. And then week 14, we have 6 teams on bye in the Ravens, Broncos, Texans, Colts, Patriots, and the Commanders. So no week 8 there, Mike. No week 13. Week 7 and 9, which would be like optimal weeks for teams for buys. We only have 2 on week 7, 2 on week 9. Again, I know this is a complicated process. I get it. But come on. Come on.
It feels intentional, Matt. They don't want to give the huge advantage to 6 teams in each of those weeks, right? So you minimize the teams there. You put some early, some late, and say deal with it.
I guess that's what we got going on here. But, man, I would be upset if I was one of those teams with late ones and seeing there's only 2 teams on week 7, 2 teams in week 9, and none in week 8. Now joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Michael Chan. He is DraftKings senior trader over there. Man, we talked a little bit earlier at the top of the show. One of your colleagues were sitting here saying how busy this must be for you guys. Now that you're monitoring this, we're a couple of hours in. Has it just been kind of wild watching things bounce all over the place?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, guys, thanks for having me on. Definitely a very crazy day. It seems like draft night all over again with all the markets and stuff going haywire and with the rest of the team here. But, it's been good. We're progressively getting weeks up at a time. So just kind of seeing where the money takes us and making reactive plays.
What market have you seen the most money come in on at this point? Has it been win totals? Has it been the week 1 market? Has it been, awards market? Where are you seeing the most money come in?
First off, we've seen a lot of customer engagement within the week 1 lines for sure. A lot of excitement, seeing all these, what the matchups are going to be and teams, getting off to a good start. Definitely a lot of support we've seen for the Chargers opening night, Harbaugh's opening debut versus the Raiders. So that's been one that we've kept a close eye on and moved a little bit.
Michael, as the schedule has now come out and we kind of look at where these teams are going to be playing, the stretches of road games, the miles that are going to be traveled, home field advantage, and things like that. How have you guys dealt with all of that over the course of the last few years now, at the addition of international games, all of the stuff that goes into kind of calculating that?
Sure, great question. I think when initially the schedule is dropped, we got to be very reactive, and you see some leaks on Twitter and whatnot, and you don't want to overreact, but definitely you want to look at net rest advantage. You look at these teams that as a team getting an extra day versus a team that just played on Monday night. So they got a 2-day rest advantage. These are things that definitely are very hard to quantify, but definitely play a role in how some of our sharper customers look at betting games, and particularly if we want to move it, if we have a game power rated a certain way, we might look at some of these factors, as well as like you mentioned, home field advantage. As a team playing in Green Bay in week 17 in the cold, is Miami traveling way up there? Certain things and aspects like that definitely play a role.
Yeah, the net rest advantage is always interesting to me. I was surprised to see San Francisco playing 4 separate teams coming out of byes this year, and that includes Buffalo, Dallas, Kansas City, and Seattle. So pretty tough to face all 4 of those out of bye in a single season. The other what jumped out to me was Jacksonville. I want to talk to you about them a little bit as well. How do you guys handle the back-to-back London games? And then specifically, they got a tough 4-game stretch coming off of those 2 London games as well.
Yeah, definitely. To your first point, the Niners, playing all those teams off a bye, it's definitely very tough. They're a well-coached team and definitely highly power rated. So, it kind of balances, if you will, in terms of the way the game is played. But Jacksonville, yeah, absolutely. Their schedule is very interesting to start the year. They, 3 of their first 4 games are on the road, and their lone home games versus the Cleveland Browns, who, had the number 1, DVOA defense last year. So it's definitely going to be a very tough stretch for them, and it's probably going to be underdogs, and 3 out of the 4 maybe a pick versus the Browns, and we'll see how that game goes. But and then after that, they they play another game versus a divisional game versus the Colts, and then progress straight to London for a 2-game series. So definitely very interesting kind of progression for Jacksonville, and we'll see how they react. It could be they could be one of the, they start out 3-1. They could be very, very highly bet to win the Super Bowl or, their conference and definitely within the division. But if they start off 1-3 or even worse for that matter, it could be a tough stretch for Doug Peterson and his team.
Talking to Michael Chan, senior trader over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Michael, one of the things we were talking about coming into this segment, we always think, okay, win totals and, even just divisional odds and Super Bowl odds and all the stuff like that once we get to see the schedule. But do you guys see action on the prop markets and award markets and things like that based off the schedule as well? Are people looking into that as much as they are some of these other markets?
I would definitely say our sharper customers are certainly looking for, those stretches early in the year. If a team's got an early schedule or an easy schedule in terms of, projected win totals, they might look to play a guy early, like you mentioned, in terms of Lamar playing, the Chiefs and that opening game matchup, that's definitely a very marquee game. And we'll see a lot of, sharper customers again, front run some of these award markets and know that, when the lights are on, in terms of the price and whatnot, it definitely, if a guy has a good performance, his price is definitely going to drop the following week. So there's definitely a pick and choose your spots.
Michael, I really do appreciate you joining us, senior trader over at DraftKings here on the Progressive Guest Line. And man, we'll let you get back to work. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you guys.
Mike, we're looking at, running through these week one lines here. One more game we can kind of get to. Titans and Bears. This is Bears 4 at home over the Titans. Will Levis on the road at Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams making his first start as more than a field goal favorite over the Titans, who, by the way, got sneaky good at the wide receiver position in the offseason for Will Levis there. Don't know if I can pull the trigger on that, man. That's tough.
This is Titans or pass at this number. I really thought this was going to be like 3, and I wasn't even sure if the Bears were going to be the 3-point favorite. So this is one of those where I want to dive a little deeper into this Titans team. This Bears team could be great. They could be terrible. They're the window for them is massive. So I'm not sure what to do with the Bears right now. One thing I do want to say, Matt.
Yeah.
Congratulations to us. The Jaguars will not knock us out of Survivor this year. I can guarantee you that.
Yes. I just won't use them this year. I just won't use them at all over the course of the season. Yeah, they're done. They booted me too many times now. They cost me too many thousands of dollars. I'm not going to do it. When we come back, we're going to look at these holiday games, international games, all the quirky stuff here on the schedule. It is our schedule release special, The Handle.
Here are 3 reasons ZYN is America's #1 nicotine pouch. We use food-grade ingredients. We have a wide selection of varieties. And they all come in 2 strengths. Find ZYN at a store near you.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it again! DraftKings Casino presents Spring Break Rewind! Soak up games exclusive to DK brands like Rocket, plus custom takes on favorites like Blackjack, slots, and more. New customers can play $5 and get $100 instantly in casino credits from America's top online casino. Boom! The crown is yours.
Coming up Thursday on Follow the Money, we'll go over the NFL schedule, get into win totals, and also Sal Palantonio from ESPN and the VP of Circa, Mike Palm, in studio. Follow the Money weekdays, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're all about giving our players new and exciting ways to get in on the action. With my stat sheet, you can check out your play history and performance over time to make sure you're always playing within your means. Because when it comes to betting, it's more fun when it's for fun. The crown is yours.
If you didn't catch the handle, here's what you missed.
Give me the Jaguars plus 100 to make the playoffs.
Okay.
I don't think that they are properly priced just because I think Houston is overvalued at this point. I think the Jaguars have a legitimate shot at winning that division, and I think they also have a shot at a wild card here. This is a Jaguars team that I like what they did in the offseason from a wide receiver perspective, and they're not going to have as tough of a schedule as they did last year. So I'll take the Jaguars plus 100. And then give me the Seattle Seahawks, plus 200 here. So a little bit longer of a price. They only missed the playoffs by a game last year. Again, a team that now plays a third-place schedule versus having to play a second-place schedule. So should be a little bit easier of a schedule from that standpoint. I think the defense got better. I like the offensive line as long as they can stay healthy. That was a big concern for them last year. You've still got 3 good wide receivers there. So I'll take a couple plus money prices here with the Jags and the Seahawks.
The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Somich. Weekends at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Looking for the ultimate sports betting podcasts? VSiN has got you covered. With a wide range of podcasts covering every major sport, we're here to help you make smarter bets every season. Hardwood Handicappers offers daily NBA analysis and picks from VSiN's top hosts and experts. And check out Long Shots, where we deep dive into the world of golf betting, providing you with expert insights to help you bet every tournament. Find all of these podcasts and more at VSiN. At VSiN, we've got you covered before, during, and after every game. Jumpstart.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Somich on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This segment of The Handle is brought to you by ZYN nicotine pouches, America's #1 nicotine pouch that has helped millions achieve lasting change. ZYN is smoke-free, spit-free, hassle-free, and can be enjoyed anywhere, anytime. What makes ZYN #1? It's available in a deep roster of varieties, including coffee, cinnamon, and citrus. And you can choose between 2 strengths, 3 milligram or 6 milligram. ZYN is made with only 6 simple ingredients and is easy to use. Plus, it delivers up to 1 hour of nicotine satisfaction per pouch. And it's discreet, so you can enjoy ZYN indoors or out. Whether you're managing your fantasy lineup on the go, watching the game from the stands, or cheering your favorite team from the couch, you can get the nicotine satisfaction you want with ZYN. Find your ZYN at your local convenience store or online at ZYN.com. That's ZYN, ZYN.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
It is The Handle. Schedule release edition here on a Wednesday. You guys get bonus coverage of me and Mike. How lucky! How lucky are our pro subscribers, Mike, on a Wednesday night? Flip it up, actually on the screen. Get to see your pretty face, man. Look at that.
I mean, it's like the gift that keeps on giving, man. It's The Handle. It's why you got to be a pro subscriber. It's why you got to sign up using promo code HANDLE, HANDLE, so that you can see our faces and listen to the replays of the weekend shows. It's gonna be a fun weekend too. We got the Preakness. We've got some NBA, NHL content, and we'll talk more about the NFL, Matt. We get to get back to our bread and butter, baby.
I know. I cannot wait. We do have the holiday games that have been listed. We already knew this. Only lines on 2 of them, Mike. So we have Dolphins and Packers, Giants and Cowboys, and Bears and Lions on Thanksgiving. Those lines not put up yet over at DraftKings Sportsbook. We do have those Christmas Day games in the Chiefs and Steelers and Ravens and Texans. Those lines are up. Chiefs are 4-point favorites over the Steelers, and the Ravens are 1.5 favorites over the Texans on the road there. Talking about if you want to make a teaser for, at 9 months from now or whatever, whatever, there's something like that with the Texans at home over the Ravens. But just kind of fun, more to note these than anything else. Of course, whenever we get going in all of this, there will be survivor implications for people who out here at Circa want to get in the contest there. As we know, each and every year, they do have these weeks that are standalone kind of weeks of their own on the holidays. I don't know what they'll end up doing with Christmas Day, where there only being 2 games and it being such marquee teams. We'll figure it all out with all of that. But mainly wanted to note the games that are there. And if you did want to start very early in advance planning your survivor strategy, they're at least there.
Yeah, that to me was the first thing I thought about here. You're going to have a lot of people that save the Lions, a lot of people that save the Cowboys for Thanksgiving. And if they do set up Christmas as its own week, 2 road favorites. I mean, brutal. And those are 2 good games, right? I think you probably want to save Kansas City, but man, depending on what happens at the quarterback position on all 4 of those teams, if there's any injuries, that changes things quite a bit. But that would be a very, very tough week of survivor if you're sitting there with Chiefs at Steelers and Ravens at Texans.
Yeah, I hope there's something creative getting done there for that one, because man, that's gonna be brutal. Could you imagine getting to that week and then having to make that decision? That would be that'd be unfun. Oh, one other piece of news here, and it is football related. We will have the Giants as our Hard Knocks team this year, Mike. So if you want to go behind the scenes and see what's going on there with Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors and how they're going to figure things out there and revitalize this team without Saquon Barkley, we will have a behind the scenes look at that
I'm fine with that. I'm interested in more Brian Dable in my life. He was the first one drinking a beer at the GM convention. Like he got his dome sunburnt. Like I can live with more Dable in my life.
So we have the international games, Packers and Eagles. We talked about that one being down in Brazil. That's in week 1. Then we have the Jets and the Vikings. That's in London. Then the Jags and the Bears. That is in London. Then we have the Patriots and Jags. That's the back-to-back for the Jags there, week 6, week 7, overseas games. And then in week 10, we have the Giants and the Panthers. They're going to come to us from Germany. Mike, these are things that we talk about as we break down, the games just in general. You and I, there are things that go into these games, right, that at least are a little bit interesting. The travel for the Jags staying over there, is that a bonus for them? Is it not? We discussed that a little bit in years past. We have the Jets and the Vikings heading over to London in week 5. Does that benefit either one of those teams? You have a veteran quarterback against what could potentially be a rookie quarterback in a game like that. Then maybe by week 7 is the Drake May experiment going there for New England. So there's at least a little bit of intrigue in some of these games.
There is. I have some intrigue in specifically that Patriots-Jaguars game, Matt. I played that one already -6, -110 for a half unit. It's already moved to -115, so Jags are taking money in that spot, and it makes a ton of sense. You've got a rookie head coach and most likely a rookie quarterback traveling across the pond for the first time, taking out a team who's been waiting for them for a week. We saw this last year. The Jags able to win and cover the second game overseas. I would expect that they're going to be in a great position as well. And if this Patriots team isn't good and they're getting blasted and they're winless coming into this game, good luck at getting less than a touchdown when this game actually kicks off.
Yeah, it is certainly, I can't imagine this would have to be at least the second start. They're not going to start Drake May in this game for the first time, so It's kind of like this would have to either be a second start or you're still going with him on the bench because you just can't start him in a foreign country. It's his first start. So that will be at least a storyline heading into that one for us.
It will be interesting to see when he starts. And we've seen money come in at him being the week 1 starter. So we'll see if that is where he actually gets his first snaps as well. But that Patriots team traveling, that's a terrible spot for them taking on Jacksonville. And if you're the Jaguars and you're sitting there and you're saying, yeah, my schedule early is a little bit tough, but we get the Bears and we get the Patriots. We get 2 rookie quarterbacks flying over to London, taking us on, and where essentially is a home away from home at this point in Jacksonville. You got to love how that plays out. And then I would like to apologize to all of Germany right now that we are sending them the Giants against the Panthers. That's a bad game. And we just saddled Germany up with that one.
Well, speaking of the Panthers, let's head back to our week 1 lines. And the Panthers in week 1 are on the road at the Saints. They are catching 4.5 points on the road, a total of 41. And Mike, tiny bit of love out there for the Panthers. You're right, people. The Saints are going to be terrible. There you go. I like what's going on here. A little bit of juice here, plus -112 if you want to take that 4.5 with the Panthers. Here's the thing. They can't be any worse, right?
No, they can't. And if you want to get crazy with the Panthers. This schedule is so bad. Like, you look through who they're playing, and they've got Kansas City, they've got Philly, they've got Dallas, and they've got nobody else on this schedule. Now, Atlanta's on there twice, yes, but we'll see what happens with Atlanta, right? But this is a cupcake of all cupcake schedules for the Panthers. Now, they're terrible, so it's hard to be like, yes, let's get excited. Let's play them to win the division. Let's play them to win the NFC. They don't have the talent to do that. But, man, they have an opportunity to get over a low win total here with how bad this schedule is. And it starts out here with the Saints, who aren't very good either. I'm not surprised you're seeing Panthers money come in at plus 4.5 here. Interested to see this Panthers team and what they will be from a totals perspective as well. Last year, that offense absolutely anemic. Not sure it's going to be all that different. This is a team that I'm going to be interested in playing first half unders, full game unders, early in the season specifically, because I just don't trust that this is going to be a Panthers team that consistently can move the football.
Also in week 1, we'll stick there in the NFC South. It is the Steelers and the Falcons. Let's see where we're sitting currently on this one. It's still 2.5 in favor of the Falcons at home over the Steelers. 43.5 is our total. Mike, if I like the Falcons as much as I do, under a field goal with a Steelers team that is going to be trotting out what may or may not be an extremely washed quarterback, anything under a field goal probably should be a play for me. It
should be a play for you, yes. This is one of those where I'm I want to see it from the Falcons. I still want to see it from Kirk Cousins coming back off the Achilles. I want to see it with this offense if they can consistently move the football. I want to see if they have any pass rush at all, because they did not go out and address their edge, which was a huge issue for them last year. They need to figure out how to have a pass rush. But I do like the secondary here for the Falcons, so maybe they can cover up some of those issues for them. Another teaser game, man. Steelers plus 8.5. That doesn't look so bad right now.
No, that could be a play as well. I mean, for sure. I mean, if we're looking from a teaser standpoint, Jags and the Dolphins is also a week 1 game. Pretty good week 1 game here, Mike. A couple of teams that I think we both like here. Jags are catching 4 on the road at Miami. Heat's not going to be an issue for Jacksonville because Jacksonville is Jacksonville. It's in Florida. I mean, so it's not one of those deals where we look at these teams and say like, oh man, this is like early in the season, Miami with all this, a lot of heat that's going on. No, man, this is a Jacksonville team that's not going to be affected by that. 49.5 is the total.
Yeah, that you don't have that narrative with teams coming to Miami when it's Jacksonville. They still will have the majority of the sun in the second half, which has been a huge advantage for the Dolphins. Total is interesting to me. This is a really high total for early in the season. Kind of think it's right, though. Like, if we can get a 48.5, I'd probably be on the over here. 49.5, I'm going to stay away for now. I kind of lean the Dolphins, though. I think this Miami offense is going to be electric this year, Matt.
It certainly better be, right? I mean, like, because you look at everything that they've given Tua. Listen, I supported Tua a ton last year. I was a defender of Tua. I think he's a talented quarterback. Now you add in a true wide receiver 3 for this offense as well. I just don't know if I could lay 4. Man, if it just seems like 4 is a little rich. People are really disrespecting this Jags team.
You're falling for the Jags again this year, huh, Matt?
No, they're just getting disrespected. It's not that I'm falling for it. It's just, quit disrespecting them so much. That's all I got to say about that. AFC North. Let's take a deep dive here, Mike.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it again! DraftKings Casino presents Spring Break Rewind! Soak up games exclusive to DK brands like Rocket, plus custom takes on favorites like Blackjack, slots, and more. New customers can play $5 and get $100 instantly in casino credits from America's top online casino. Boom! The crown is yours.
Right now, if you sign up for a VSiN Pro annual subscription, you get an extra 2 months for free. What's worth betting on over the next 14 months?
The NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, the rest
of
the baseball season, the World Series, all 3 Triple
Absolutely
Crown races,
betting
the NFL
on
regular
that.
season, the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl.
Crushed on that last year. Got to do better. And that's what we're here for. If you plan on betting any of these, head to VSiN.com/subscribe and use the promo code FOOTBALL to get 2 free months with your annual subscription.
NBA playoffs,
Lamar Jackson added a second MVP trophy to the shelf this past season, but what are the odds he'll go back-to-back in 2024? Hi, I'm Stormy Bonantoni with VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The Baltimore Ravens QB is a 10-to-1 shot, 5th on the odds board to repeat as the NFL's most valuable player. He joins a list of familiar faces led by fellow 2-time MVP Patrick Mahomes as a 6-to-1 favorite. Josh Allen at 8-to-1 is always among the short shots, but he'll need to rein in the turnovers, especially with a now unproven wide receiver room. This past season, Allen led the league with 44 total touchdowns, but was also second in interceptions. Meanwhile, the Bengals certainly hope Joe Burrow at 9-to-1, coming off the season-ending injury, will bounce back with MVP caliber play. The biggest mover we've seen in the market is that of reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year C.J. Stroud, who entered the chat with his odds leapfrogging Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, and Brock Purdy since the Texans acquired Stephon Diggs via trade.
For more, head to VSiN.com.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our How to Bet section section is perfect for beginners covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network. Elevate your sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
The time of unreliable injury reports and rest days are over. The playoffs are here, and it's the best time to bet the NBA. Throughout the NBA playoffs, VSiN has daily best bets, analytics reports, and series previews all the way through the NBA Finals. You can also watch our 24/7 video stream, access our betting splits, and get picks sent to your inbox every morning so you can get ahead of any late line movement. To get access to everything VSiN has to offer for the NBA playoffs, become a VSiN Pro subscriber at VSiN.com/pro.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Do you like free, as in it costs you nothing? Of course you do. Well, that's what you get when you go in and take advantage of the VSiN Pro offer that we've got right now, because we're going to give you 2 months of it for absolutely free. Usually the discounted rate of $199 just gets you 12 months, but we are giving you 14 months now. 2 months absolutely free. VSiN.com/subscribe, but you have to use the promo code HANDLE, HANDLE. You type that into the promo code box, and when you do, you are going to get 14 months for the price of 12. Already discounted to $199. It gets it super, super cheap for you. Everything we do over at VSiN.com as part of all that, including a video stream of this very show. You might as well do it. VSiN.com/subscribe. Handle, HANDLE. Matt and Mike here. Take some time. It is the schedule release show, but Mike, there are other things going on. People are driving in the cars going, hey man, what's happening in that Avalanche Stars hockey game? Well, let me tell you, there's about 10 minutes left in the third period. It's 4-3 in favor of the Avalanche. It was 1-1 after 1. It was 2-2 after 2. And then it is Avalanche 2-1 here in the third period to take a 4-3 lead.
Yep, Avs trying to force a Game 6 in Colorado on Friday night. That would be a heck of an atmosphere if we end up going to Game 6. And the Avs been the best home team in the NHL this year. But guess what? Dallas, your best team on the road. So it'd be a heck of a Game 6 if we get it. Right now, looks like it's probably going to happen with the Avs having that 1-goal lead here late in the third.
The Celtics did advance a little bit earlier in the NBA playoffs. 113-98 winners over the Cavs. Cavs did not have Donovan Mitchell, who might not be there anymore after this season as it is anyway. So, yes, they do advance a 4-1 series win there for the Celtics. And we are at halftime, Mavericks and Thunder, 54-44 in favor of the Mavericks on the road. This series is tied 2-2. That being said, Mike, no lead is safe against this Thunder's team. We have seen it many a time, them coming back from double-digit deficits. So I am not writing off this Thunder squad down 10 here at halftime.
No, you can't write them off, but you were seeing our first good Luka and Kyrie game of the series. Luka was 17, 6, and 7 here at half. I'm going to have to shut one of them down if they want to be able to come back from down 10 here in the second half.
And finally, we did get a note here, and I do appreciate the people chiming in on Twitter. Longtime listener here, RDW. You can find him on the Twitter at DCowboys777. The Giants are in an off-season version of Hard Knocks, and the full-season version is still to be determined. Likely to be the Bears, from what everyone is saying, because why wouldn't you do the Bears? You can use them, and you might as well with Caleb Williams and all that. But yes, we at least will get some Giants, and looks like maybe we'll get some Bears there as well with all of this. So, Mike, I did want to take at least a look. We have two divisions that are just super, super interesting. And whenever we start to look at what we have dubbed the division of death in the AFC North, and you start to go in and look at these teams, and you realize, like, man, one of these teams is in a really, really rough shape, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, you know, we were sitting here, we wanted to take these two segments, talk about these two divisions, and make a case for pretty much every single team. And then you go and you look and you say, man, okay, Pittsburgh. And then you scroll over and you're kind of like, okay, that's not so bad, not so bad, not so bad. And then you get to week 10 with Pittsburgh and you're on the road at the Commanders. And like, I mean, you know, again, not a game of death, but still you're on the road at the Commanders. Then Ravens at Browns, at Cincinnati, at Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland at home again. Then you're at Philly. Then you're at Baltimore. Then it's the Chiefs. Then it's Cincinnati. That might be the most brutal stretch of games from 11 to 18 I remember in quite a while, Mike. I mean, this is just, it is not running the gauntlet. This is not like what we talked about last year with the Eagles. Those are all teams that have projected win totals like 9.5, 10.5, 11.5 on some of on these teams that are listed right there. That is just absolutely brutal for this Steelers team.
Yeah, NFL must have found out that Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season yet and said, here you go. Try this on for size. Let's see what you can do with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and this brutal last 8 games of the schedule. Like, just absolutely tough. It's a gauntlet. It's similar to what we saw from Philly last year when they had to go through this stretch midseason, but that was only like 5 games. This is 8 games to end the season that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to deal with. Again, this is one of those teams where please start out hot. Please go like 6-2 early so I can fade Pittsburgh to miss the playoffs, so I can take the under on their win total. This is going to be very, very tough to overcome late in the season for them. And if they start out hot, hopefully we can come back the other direction.
Ravens plus 115 for the AFC North. Cincinnati plus 165. Cleveland 6-1. We just talked about Pittsburgh. They're only plus 850. The gap should be bigger between them and Cleveland, in my personal opinion, especially now that we see how the schedule ends up, Mike, because as we know, man, like, you lose 3 or 4 in a row, and then you look up at the schedule and you're like, oh man, we've lost 3 or 4 in a row, and it's like, oh great, now we're still playing 4 more hard games in a row. I don't know. I think the gap should be bigger there with all that. And then we mentioned the Ravens, who are the favorite to win the AFC North, but man, they start off pretty rough. Again, it's at Kansas City. You do get a Las Vegas game there in week 2, but then at Dallas, Buffalo, at Cincinnati are week 3, 4, and 5. That's not going to be very easy. And like a worst case scenario, and I'm not like, you know, again, I'm not speaking in hyperbole here, Mike. We could be looking at a 1-4 Baltimore team. Is it likely? They probably win one of those 3 games that I just mentioned that are going to be super tough after the Raiders game, but they're all losable games for sure. They could be a 1-4 Baltimore team heading into week 6.
They very well could be, and that would be the point where I'd be interested in betting Baltimore. I mean, we also already went over how tough that Pittsburgh schedule is. If you go to Cleveland's schedule and you look at the later part of that, it's absolutely brutal. Cincinnati, they've got a schedule again where there's a couple tough stretches in there, but Baltimore, this early part is rough. I mean, it's a tough first 5 games. I would expect they go 2-3, right, Matt? You got to think they're going to get out of that stretch 2-3. But even if they do, it's hard for me to envision them being a favorite in this division. It feels like Cincinnati should be the favorite in this division once we've seen these schedules.
Yeah, because you start to look too, and then you go to like the win total market. And right now, if you go down and you're trying to figure out like, okay, is there an angle in all of this? And it's like, you know, Cincinnati's sitting 10.5. Cincinnati's schedule is much more favorable than the Ravens. The Ravens are sitting 11.5, Mike. I know the under is juiced on the 11.5 under there for the Ravens, but you have to at least be inclined to lean in that direction given how tough things kind of are to start, and then also just how tough the division is overall that they play in. So for me, I don't know. I think 11.5 probably a little too stout there for the Ravens, and maybe 10.5 is a little too short for Cincinnati if we think that that's kind of how this schedule is going to play out.
Well, you see that in the juice, right? The Ravens juice to the under, the Bengals juice to the over. So that's the kind of the consensus in the market here is that both teams probably right around that 11-game mark. And if you're a Baltimore backer, if you want to play them over, just wait 5 weeks and then jump in and take a piece of the over.
You're going to get a better number for sure.
Exactly. And so to me, the Baltimore is one of those teams where I'm not interested in betting them now because of how this early season looks. Not going to play them to win the division, to win the conference, anything like that early. I'd be much more interested late. Now, the converse of this, Matt, if they find a way to go 3-2 or 4-1 through that early schedule, they're going to be awfully tough late in the season.
you will have missed the number big time then at that point, because if they figure out how to get through that, I just don't know. I just don't know how they'll be able to do it, but I could be wrong. I think the most interesting team, the one that we could sit here and go round and round and round about, is the Cleveland Browns. Win total is sitting 8.5. You look at this Cleveland schedule. Dallas to start, very tough. At Jacksonville to start, very tough. But then Giants, Vegas, Washington. They could be 3-2 heading to Philadelphia. But then it goes another brutal stretch of Philly, Cincy, Baltimore. And then you go to the Chargers, and then you get the bye week. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what this Cleveland team looks like heading into that bye week, Mike. And maybe then is something where we want to go in and maybe reassess, because then you do come out with a Saints, Steelers, Broncos, Steelers stretch that could be all very, very winnable games for this Cleveland team. If that win total gets too depressed there after week 9, heading into that bye week, maybe that's where we look. They're probably going to lose at least 2 of the final 4, if not 3 of the final 4, because it does go Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, and Ravens. But that's going to be baked into whatever the adjusted win total is anyway, right? And so I think that's something that we might be able to circle as well with this Cleveland team. But there's just so many unknowns with this team. Are we ever going to see the real Deshaun Watson ever again?
Yeah, I would actually circle week 6, Matt, because they're at Philly, but then those 3 games before the bye all at home. There will be short favorites or short dogs in all 3 of those games. There'll be bigger favorites against the Chargers. But Bengals, I bet they'll be a short favorite. Ravens, they'll be a short dog. But it'll be sub a field goal with both of those. If they're able to win those 3 home games into the bye, you should have an easy shot at an over win total after that Eagles game.
Yeah, it's maybe the most polarizing team that we'll talk about really in the offseason is this Cleveland team, because you look around, the talent is there seemingly. We just haven't seen the talent actually come to fruition on the field.
Yeah, defense has been great. The offense needs to figure it out.
We'll look at some more week 1 lines. We'll look at some NFC North analysis as well. Are we still in love with the Detroit Lions as we were just hours ago before this schedule hit? We'll let you know here on the schedule release special edition of The Handle.
If you didn't catch VSiN Primetime, here's what you missed.
I'm laughing to myself because we talked about it late last week regarding the Eastern Conference price, which was at one point when we came on the show at -310. That quickly got bet out to -450. However, after they lost Game 2 Boston, it dropped around -350 or so. I mean, can we just discuss how fortunate Boston has been? The Miami series. They play a Miami team without Jimmy Butler. Now they're playing Cleveland, no Donovan Mitchell. You look at what's waiting for them in the wings. It's either an Indiana Pacers team that's allergic to playing defense and, by the way, doesn't have Lauri Markkanen, or it's the 50% Knicks.
VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The SEC may have a new look overall in 2024, but there's a very familiar face atop the odds board favored to win it all. Stormy Bonantoni here with VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. The Georgia Bulldogs are a short +190 price to get redemption in the title tilt following last year's SEC championship loss to Alabama. That loss cost the Dogs a spot in the college football playoff. They're also a +320 favorite to not only get back to the CFP, but win a 3rd national title in 4 years. Newcomer Texas, who did make the Final Four a year ago, is the second shortest shot at +320 to claim the SEC title, their first season in the league. Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team at 7-1 looks to build on an 11-2 season a year ago, bringing back offensive stars Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, and Caden Prieskorn. And it feels wrong to see the Crimson Tide so far down the board at +850, but that's the Nick Saban retirement effect. LSU rounds out the short shots at +950, but will have to navigate a new chapter without Jaden Daniels.
For more, head to VSiN.com.
If you think about betting football all year round, the Lombardi Line on VSiN is the perfect show for you. 7 days a week, you can watch and listen to the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. He gives his honest opinions on personnel signings, draft decisions, and every offseason move to help you as a bettor. Catch the show weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern and on weekends at 10 a.m. Eastern. The Lombardi Line, 7 days a week, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This This is VSiN senior MLB analyst Adam Burke. Let's face it, between bad managers and umpires like Angel Hernandez, betting on baseball can be brutal. But my daily article is here to help. Every morning, I go through each MLB matchup and give you my best bets of the day. I analyze pitching matchups, study analytics, look at lineups, and even weather reports, all to find value on the baseball slate. My daily article is only available to VSiN Pro subscribers. To become a subscriber, head to vsin.com/pro today.
VSiN is thrilled to introduce a new VSiN.com tailor-made to the evolved needs of today's sports bettors. Our upgraded navigation streamlines your journey, allowing you to swiftly access articles, videos, and podcasts. Whether you're tuning in live or catching up on your favorite shows, everything is just a click away. VSiN.com guarantees a fluid and responsive experience across all devices, ensuring you stay connected wherever you are. We have enhanced tools such as our betting splits and expert picks, and introduce innovative features like parlay and odds calculators, all designed to make you a sharper bettor. Our how to bet section is perfect for beginners, covering the fundamentals, while seasoned bettors can delve into our advanced betting strategies for the competitive edge you've been looking for. Sign up for free on VSiN.com or become a VSiN Pro subscriber, where you can unlock unlimited access to every tool, expert picks, and insight that make VSiN the sports betting network.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the sports betting network.
If you don't already have a DraftKings Sportsbook account, we got a deal for you. Go in, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the promo code VSiN, VSIN, and when you do, bet just $5, get $150 instantly in bonus bets into your account. That's what we do for you here at The Handle. DraftKings Sportsbook, promo code VSiN, bet just $5 and we'll give you $150 instantly in bonus bets in your account. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Let's get through these week one lines here, Mike, because, people driving along, they're going, hey, man, what about the Bills? They play in week one. Why haven't you given me the Bills line? Well, let me tell you, it's the Bills are 7-point favorites over the Cardinals at home there in week one. Teaser Palooza continues as the Bills will be teased down to 1-point favorites over the Cardinals at home here in week one. I don't think the Bills are going to be as good as most people do, but do I think they're better, 1 point better than the Cardinals? Probably. So, again, Teaser Palooza continues.
Yeah, and you better get it in. Well, you don't need to get it in soon because this can move a little bit for the teaser, but we're seeing -7, -120, so Buffalo money coming in early here. I will bet the Cardinals +7.5. I'm a little interested in this Cardinals team, Matt. I think they're undervalued compared to the market. I agree with you. I think the Bills are overvalued compared to the market, so I may end up with a Cardinals bet in week one. Lucky me.
Who knew? Who knew? Let's go to another one of these afternoon games, and let's see. Let's get the Broncos and Seahawks. Seahawks, 4.5-point favorites there at home over the Broncos. I think it'll be Bo Nix. We don't know for sure it'll be Bo Nix. We will see who'll be the quarterback for the Broncos. Will that alter what you think of this game at all? I think it's kind of baked in that it's going to be Bo Nix with it being 4.5.
Yeah, it feels that way. Although, I mean, what's the number with Stidham? 4? Like, how much better is he? It's probably a 2-point upgrade, maybe. So maybe it's there a little bit. I like the Seahawks in this spot. I think I'm higher than the Seahawks on most. I think I'm probably lower than the Broncos on most. So 4.5 to me, this is one of those numbers you don't have to capture it, right? There's not, you're not really worried about a big time market move here. If it is Bo Nix, if it is Stidham, if you see a 2-point move, then you're like, okay, now I wish I'd gotten it earlier. But if it, let's say it's Stidham and this is the Knicks number, you're going to get a better number with the Seahawks in that case. Early lean toward the Seahawks, but no interest in betting it this early.
Raiders and Chargers, that is 3 in favor of the Chargers at home over the Raiders. 44 is your total. It's going to be Gardner Minshew for the Raiders. You and I are both convinced of that. Chargers going into the season with a interesting wide receiver situation going on for Justin Herbert. They find themselves as a field goal favorite over this Raiders team. It seems appropriate, maybe the most appropriate line that we've talked about so far in the program.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just going to be wrong about this Chargers team, or I'm going to make a lot of money this year. It's going to be one of the two because I don't think this should be a field goal. I think the Raiders are a little bit worse, not much worse though than the Chargers. And you're telling me the Chargers are getting 2.5, 2 for home field advantage? That seems crazy in this spot.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I guess at least you know what you get with Gardner Minshew. At least you know the floor, and he's still throwing to Devontae Adams, right? I mean, like there is that. Brock Bowers as well.
But you have talent. There is some talent on this Raiders team, right? The Chargers, they've got Herbert and nobody, like nothing. And so I realize you're revamping the offensive line. That's great. Guess what? You still need someone to catch the football. You don't have anyone to run the football. Your defense, you gave away all your major pieces. I realize Harbaugh is going to upgrade this team significantly. I'm not sure he does it right away. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time here for me to believe in this Chargers team. So I'm like, I know I'm on the season under in the win total. I believe you are too, Matt. Like, I'm going to be betting against this Chargers team quite a bit unless the market adjusts to where I think they should be.
I would love for that to get on the other side of a field goal. I just don't think it will. That would be fantastic if they got on the
I wouldn't
other
be
side of a field
shocked.
goal.
Everyone loves the Chargers, Matt. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, let's start hyping them up, man. Let's play our part. Harbaugh's going to turn this team around for sure. Maybe
Which
the game,
your favorite.
Yeah, maybe the game of the week here in week 1. Cowboys and Browns, basically a pick 'em, half a point in favor of the Browns at home here, 44.5. Mike, we're going to figure out what this Browns team is made of right off the bat as the Cowboys come to town. No excuse for laying an egg. Everyone, well, again, we do have we have training camp, but I mean, as we sit right now, I mean, there's no excuses. This is you are a year and a half removed from the suspension. All the stuff with Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson can't figure it out with the guys that are around him, the stuff that's going on there with them, getting Chubb back, et cetera, then maybe it will just go down as the worst contract in the history of all of sports. But I can't wait to watch this one. Don't know if I'll be betting it.
It's going to be a blast. You like you mentioned, Chubb coming back. You're going to get offensive linemen back here for Cleveland. They were so banged up toward the end of the season last year. They also added a piece at the wide receiver position as well, so which makes them awfully interesting in that front. On the Cowboys side, look, they were banged up on the defensive side of the ball as well. You're getting Diggs back here. Parsons wasn't 100% toward the end of the season. Like, I'm excited to get these two teams healthy in week 1 because that was a struggle for both of these teams down the stretch. Kind of like the under a little bit, 44.5. Like, it feels like this is going to be a defensive battle, especially if the defense is a little ahead of the offense is early. But again, not something I'm rushing to the window to play right now.
Commanders and the Bucks also here in week 1. Other side of a field goal for the Bucks at home over the Commanders. 42 is your total. All assumptions are it's going to be Jaden Daniels making his first start in the NFL. So rookie quarterback on the road making his first start. And while I think there will be regression for the Bucks over the course of the season because they really ran on the right side of injury variance last year for a team that's pretty old, you have to think in week 1 they'll probably be pretty healthy. This is probably about right. Jaden Daniels might take a few weeks to kind of adjust to the NFL game. Other side of a field goal seems right, even though it's a team I'm not very high on in the Bucks.
Yeah, I think you broke that down wonderfully, Matt. The number seems right at 3.5. This is the Bucks team you want to fade later, and a Commanders team you probably want to bet later. But we're talking about week 1, and 3.5 is the correct number.
Oh, are we going to have fun talking about this one? Rams and the Lions. Lions, 3-point favorites at home over the Rams. 50.5 is our total, and they're already taking a little money, Mike, minus 115 here, juiced towards this Lions squad. I love them a ton. I've already bet them a ton. I've already bet Jared Goff. I couldn't be a bigger Lions fan than I already am. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to bet this game or not.
Yeah, I mean, 3 seems right. We saw this game in the NFC playoffs. There was a close game. Could have gone either way in that spot. I think the Lions are better than they were then. I think the Rams are probably a little bit better than they were then as well. So, 3 feels right here, Matt. Like, if you gave me 100 Matt bucks, I'm betting the Lions. But I'm not running to the window with my own money.
Then our Monday night game, Jets and the 49ers. This is 49ers 5.5 right now. Wow. 5.5. So it's kind of like that. All right, 5.5. It is juiced to 115. Could be getting to that key-ish number of 6. 45.5 is our total. Aaron Rodgers on the road, heading back to his old stomping grounds. Boy, the narrative is already here, Mike. It's the Jets. Big underdogs on the road to the big bad Niners, everything. Boy, this is going to write itself for that Monday night crew.
That defense for the Jets against the offense for the Niners. This is going to be a fun one. I would lean Jets, but I want to see Aaron Rodgers play football before I bet on the Jets in any way, shape, or form in this spot. So I need to actually see him in the preseason, see him moving around, see him throwing a football. 5.5 seems like a big number here, though.
So one thing I'm now noticing about this Jet schedule is Monday night, San Francisco, then at Tennessee, then Thursday night against New England. Now, the games aren't terribly hard at Tennessee and then at New England, but Mike, that is double short week for the first 3 weeks of the season. Like, what is that going to be? 7, like, they're going to play 3 games in, what's that, 12 days? Something like it. What is, I don't know the math on that here, but it seems like it's a lot of games in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it would be a Monday to a Thursday. So what would that, 3 games in 11 days, essentially. So that is a lot of football very, very quickly there. They also play, 7 games in prime time or in London in the first 11 weeks as well. So we're getting a lot of Aaron Rodgers early in the season here.
I guess, though, if you look at this and we're those markets of last undefeated team, if the Jets can get past the Niners, Tennessee, New England, Denver, Minnesota, and we said, like, could be rookie quarterback. I mean, you could get a 5-0 team. Now, maybe there's a team that goes 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, whatever. But, I mean, they're at least in contention should they be able to get through week 1.
They would be, but then you go to London for that Vikings game. You come back from being overseas, and you've got the Bills on Monday Night Football, and then you've got a short week to the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. You got the Patriots, but then you've got a short week versus the Texans on Thursday Night Football. So that early part of the schedule is just a very funky rest schedule.
Yeah, it is just so fascinating, guys. We've been looking at this every single week 1 game, talking even about how this might affect awards markets, season win total markets, also prop markets, and all of that. We didn't even get to all of that. I can assure you we will be getting to that over the weekend on our normal version of the handle. Could some of these season-long props get adjusted down because of tough defenses, and then that's when you want to come in on these guys, or vice versa, stuff like that, Mike? There's going to be all kinds of stuff that's fascinating now that we know how and when and on what network or what streaming service or whatever you got to do to see all these football games is happening. Cannot wait to get into it this weekend. Hope you enjoyed everything here on the special edition of The Handle NFL Schedule Release Special.
Remember when spring break was the most fun you could ever imagine? Well, imagine it